Hello everyone, welcome back to the Budget Sportsman, and thank you so much for joining me on today's video where we are going to be taking a look at the WorkSharp Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener. And let me go ahead and spoil the video for you right up here at the front and tell you that I absolutely love this thing. I enjoy using it and the results are really good. Before I get into the reasons why I enjoy this knife sharpener so much, let me give you a little bit of the history of knife sharpeners on the Budget Sportsman YouTube channel, and I think that will help you to understand why I enjoy this knife sharpener so much. This WorkSharp knife sharpener will actually be the third knife sharpener that I've reviewed in the 3 years that I've been doing the Budget Sportsman YouTube channel. The first one I reviewed just when I was getting started with the channel was this one, which is the Rewixon Pro. And at the time, it cost around $25 and I think was a pretty good value. It was one of my first experiences with any kind of a knife sharpener system. I had tried using whetstones or sharpening stones in the past that did not help you with angle, and I really struggled to keep a consistent angle and get any kind of consistent results at all. So when I tried this, I was quite impressed with the fixed angle sharpening system that I could actually get really good results, shaving sharp results on this sharpener for a very inexpensive amount of money. At the time, I gave it pretty glowing reviews, but I did point out that there were some flaws, and one of the flaws is that it was very time consuming. But some of those flaws really magnify themselves the more and more that I use it. So I want to point out a couple of those flaws, and that will help you to see how this new sharpener really solves a lot of those problems. One of the flaws that I had was that this rod simply did not slide very well at all. Now, I could oil it up and clean it off and everything and get it to slide okay, so that wasn't a big issue. It's just a little bit of an annoyance. Another issue that I had is in order to adjust the angle, you would have to loosen this wing nut, slide this up and down the vertical rod. It worked fine, but if you wanted to switch frequently between knives of different angles, like my wife's kitchen knives, which are mostly 17 degrees, and some of my knives, which are 20 or 25 degrees, it was very cumbersome to try to get it repeatable results at the same exact point. Now, I suppose you could put Sharpie on here. There's different things you could do to try to get that repeatable. But for the most part, I ended up just leaving it at one place and profiling all my knives the same, which I'm sure some of you are really groaning at. But that was an issue. Another issue that I had were with the actual sharpening stones, which came originally on these plastic backing pieces here. And over time, they began breaking off the plastic backing pieces. But even more of an issue was that they were extremely cheap stones. And I don't know if you can tell this on the camera or not, but they really started to cup really badly with what I consider to be very little use. But really the biggest issue that I had with the Rewixon Pro knife sharpener was that when you put your knife in here, you had to loosen this Allen bolt right here and stick your knife in and clamp it down. And there was no way to flip or rotate the knife from side to side. So every time you wanted to rotate to the opposite side to sharpen, you had to loosen that bolt, flip your knife around, and clamp it back down. Now that wasn't a big issue when you're getting started out with your coarse stone and you're doing a lot of passes on each side, and so you work on it a while, you flip it, you work on it a while, you flip it, etc. But when you get down to that final process where you're using that really fine grit stone, what I found is for me to get the best results, I would have to do, say, 20 passes on one side and 20 on the other, and then 10 on one side and 10 on the other, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, working my way down, alternating back and forth. And by the time I got to the end, I was spending way more time loosening this bolt, flipping the knife, and tightening it back down than I was actually sharpening. And it was a real annoyance. All of those things combined basically led me to the point where I just quit using this knife sharpener. The stones falling apart, the difficult to slide, the angle, everything, I just kind of quit using it. So the next knife sharpener that I tried was actually a Smith electric knife sharpener. It looked very similar to some of the offerings from WorkSharp, but at a fraction of the price. It was a little bit of an impulse buy when I saw it on clearance at Walmart. However, it went right back to Walmart within a couple of weeks. Now what it looked like was that it was going to give me a simple system without a lot of fiddle factor, and that would be pretty rapid to get good results. Unfortunately, it also had no way to adjust the angle of your grind, and it was very inconsistent. It was very hard to know exactly how you're supposed to hold the knife in there to get the right angle. In addition to that, there were times that it just put these really weird curvatures in my blade just because of the way it's designed. If you want more information about that, go check out the video, which I will leave up in the corner. So that knife sharpener went back to Walmart, I returned it, and that left me on the hunt for another knife sharpener. And my idea was that this year for Christmas, I was going to add to my Christmas list the new version of the Rewixon Pro. Again, that's this knife sharpener. In the new version, looked like it solved several of the issues. It definitely had a flipping mechanism up here, which is my primary thing. It looked like they were also offering the stones in a diamond version, which hopefully would be more durable. And so that's what I was going to consider. But to get the diamond stones and the new version, it looked like it was going to be somewhere close to $50 or maybe even a little bit more. So just when I was getting ready to add that new version of the Rewixen Pro to my Christmas list, my good friend Sam, who also subscribes to this channel, sent me a message and told me about this brand new offering from Worksharp called the Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener. Now I took a look at it and I was quite impressed at what it can do, and this knife sharpener does run about $60 or $50 depending on where you buy it. So for an almost identical price to the Rewixen Pro, I could get something from a company that I've heard so many good things about and I think has some features that really make it a better option. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener and I'll show you what I love about it so much. So the first thing that I really appreciate about the Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener is that it does disassemble for compact and easy storage. But it only has 4 main parts, so there's not a lot of little pieces to keep track of. And what you're seeing on the table right here are the 4 main parts disassembled. The first part, let's move these other things out of the way here. The first part is your main base, which has 4 nice rubber feet on the bottom that keep it nice and firm on the table. The second part is what I would call the tower. This is weighted quite nicely and is what gives the knife sharpener a little bit of weight. It feels really nice in the hands and stable on the table. You just clip in the front side and then push it down on the back and it snaps right in. Now your next piece here is going to be the clamp, where you're going to actually clamp your knife into the sharpener, and this is held in by a couple of magnets, and you can put it in either direction, but it just slides right in and then you can feel the magnets take place. And when I was looking at this, I had some skepticism about some of the magnetic features of this, but they hold quite well. They're not going to just fall around or wobble around on you. And then finally, the last piece is your actual sharpening rod here, which has your different stones on it. I'll show you more about that in a minute. And again, that's a magnetic piece. It's got the little rod right here and it slides right up into this slot, which is going to have a hard time getting it up in there on video, aren't I? There we go. Slides up in, and again, I thought, how can that possibly hold well with a magnet? But you got to hit a good bit of force on that to get it to pop loose. And I've never had any issues at all with that while I'm actually sharpening a knife. I'm just not putting that much pressure on the back part of the sharpener. So the second thing that I really enjoy about the Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener is right in the name. It's the Precision Adjust. And I mentioned on the Rewixen Pro it's very difficult to get repeatable results at a certain angle. Well, on here, you've got this screw mechanism and you've got a knob right on top, and then on the side you have arrows and a scale. And what you do is you'll see 15, 20, 25, and 30, and then on the other side you have the lines that would indicate the in-between numbers, and you just turn this knob, and as you turn it, you just line that up to exactly where you want. So you can see right there, I'm probably about 16 degrees, and I can bring this all the way up and line up those arrows at 20 degrees, or 22, or 22 and a half, or 25, whatever I want to do. And as I adjust that, if I put my actual guide rod back in here, by moving that up and down, I'm actually changing the angle of my sharpening stones there. So that is the second thing that I really enjoy, is the actual precision adjust of the angle. The third thing that I appreciate about the Precision Adjust Knife Sharpener is how easy it is to put the knife into the clamp. Instead of needing a tool, it's completely toolless. You have this adjustment knob right back here. You can put the knife in and slide it all the way back into the V-notch, which makes sure you have it the same every time, and then you just tighten this clamp down and it holds really, really well. Again, no tools are needed, and once it's in there, there's really no need to take it in and out, because the next thing I love about the Precision Adjust is that it's very easy to rotate. So you're going to see I have the knife in there, and then on the back side of this, it's a big old button right here. If I push that button in and then rotate, I can just flip that knife right around. Let me show you one more time from the other side. Push that button in and rotate the knife right around. And one thing I want to point out to you is that it doesn't rotate 360 degrees. It only rotates 180 degrees from one side to the other. So what you want to do is, when you see this little white dot on the top here, you want to put the knife facing to the left. And what that will do is it will mean that your blade can swing down underneath rather than your handle going down and hitting the table. Now, if you've got a really long knife, it may not matter. You may not be able to swing it all the way around either way, but it's no big deal just to tilt up on the knife sharpener and flip it around. Now, I do want to point out, you could also, if you don't want to mess with the button in the back, you could also just pull that clamp right out, flip it over, and flop it back in. But I really prefer just hitting the button and flipping it over. I actually find it easier that way than trying to pull the whole clamp out. The next thing that I appreciate about the Precision Adjust knife sharpener is the actual sharpening rod here. And the sharpening stones here are called their Tri-abrasive system, I believe. And it comes with 3 different sharpening stones that are all just attached right here to this rod. Never have to worry about keeping track of them or losing them, anything like that. It comes with a 320 grit diamond stone, and then you just rotate it to the next one, which is a 600 grit diamond stone. And then the last one is this ceramic, which you can see is a little dirty. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but that cleans up quite nicely with the eraser on a pencil. So you just rotate right through. Very simple, very easy to use. Another thing you're going to notice is it has these rubber stoppers on here, and when you have that on your sharpener, what you can do is you can adjust those rubber stoppers to adjust the actual amount of travel to make sure that you're not traveling off the edge of a knife. Now, obviously, in that case, I've got it adjusted way too far down, but I would want a little bit more travel. But just to show you how that works, I can adjust those rubber stoppers to make sure that I'm not going to go off the end of my stone when I'm trying to sharpen my knife. Now, I'm not going to bore you in this video by showing you me actually sharpening a knife. If you want to be bored and watch somebody go sharpen a knife, there are a ton of other videos out there where you can do that. But what I do want to do is I want to show you the results that I got on this knife, which is one of my old hunting knives. Now, if you happen to watch that review of the Smith's knife sharpener video, this is one of the knives that I tried to sharpen on that knife sharpener and totally ruined. It was dull and worthless, and I was able to repair it and get it back into working condition on the Precision Adjust knife sharpener. So let me just show you here. You can see my arm's probably already got a bald spot there, but this is definitely a shaving sharp knife. I don't know if you can see the hairs on there or not, but hopefully you can see the bald spot on my arm. Either way, if you can't see it, take my word for it. This is a shaving sharp knife, all done on the Precision Adjust knife sharpener. And again, brought back from the dead when that other knife sharpener totally ruined this knife. Now, while I'm not going to go through the entire process of trying to sharpen a knife on video, I do want to give you one tip that I found was crucial for me to get good results on this knife sharpener. And that was to start off the first time I sharpen a knife by taking my time to profile it on the coarsest grit. Especially some of these knives like this one, where the bevels were all messed up by that electric knife sharpener. It was very important for me to set the bevel exactly right and get both sides perfectly the same. Some of them were fine on one side, but the other side was all wonky. And so it was very important for me to start with the coarsest grit, really take my time in getting a perfect bevel on both sides to where it really met in the middle, and then work up a burr and then work down through my different grits. From there, again, especially taking time at the end with the ceramic stone and working back and forth, just really refining that edge. Now, while I am a huge fan of this knife sharpener and I think it's perfect for me, I want to point out a couple of things that might make a difference for whether it's right for you. One of them is that you are very limited in what stones you have available to you. So you do have the 320 to 600 and then the ceramic, but as of now, there are no other stones that are available. I've seen a lot of folks asking Worksharp to come out with a different tri-glide piece here that you could just replace onto the rod that would have different coarseness or grits available for that. But as of now, I do not believe that's available that I am aware of. So if you're somebody who wants that mirror polish and maybe you want some super, super, super fine grit stones, that's just not really going to be available, although there are some ways you can get around that. For my purposes, a knife that can shave hairs is just fine for me. If I was going to do anything at all with this knife, I would say I would run it on a leather strop just to really, again, get that edge really dialed in. But the way you see it now is right off the knife sharpener, and it's just amazing. And for my purposes, to go out and hunt or fish or to sharpen my wife's knives in the kitchen, this knife sharpener is working great. If you are interested in buying this knife sharpener, I will have a link down in the description. It won't cost you any extra, but it will help me to make more reviews just like this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of this knife sharpener down in the comments. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.